Hello, USA. This is Sherry Lane bringing you important, updated information.
The American people should anticipate that cases will rise in the days ahead.
Whether we end up with another 200,000 Americans dead, whether we end up at that 400,000 number, it's really up to us.
Now let's take a good look at the difference from the serious news, people wanting to protect us, give us real information out there to help us, now with Fox 11 News Special and Dr. Drew Pinsky.
Governor Gavin Newsom says
you can see similar trends. This is a 0.97 are effective in these ensembles of counties.
And while we still may experience increases in cases associated with activities over the Labor Day holiday, we do not predict a similar surge as was seen after Memorial Day and after the July 4th holiday.
There, Dr.
There
Drew,
is
she
so much
finally
disturbing.
said it.
I'm so disturbed about so much there. We're going to see activities from a month ago having an effect on the transmission rate that is declining. That is irresponsible, and it's frankly, it's false. It's a false narrative, and it is absolutely untrue. We would have seen the trend. If you look after Memorial Day, the trend began in 3 days and it was up.
Right.
Since Labor Day, it has been consistently a negative slope, and it's continuing until this day. Good job, Los Angeles. You're doing a good job. That's what she should be telling us. And the governor getting into the weeds on the R-naught, that is not something the general public should be interested in.
Well, that's what
now.
I want you to explain to us.
He's talking about the so-called case rate, which is how many cases are caused by another person infecting, who infects how many is sort of the trend. It is irresponsible to give that to the public. Talk about what he did talk about, the hospitalization, the death rate, the ICU rate, all down. That's all that really matters. We really don't know how many of the people that go down as a case are even sick. At the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was sick.
Let me tell you what's disturbing. I'll tell you what's disturbing is when you have someone that calls himself a doctor and is on national television supposedly to help people, but really looking out for himself and political reasons and personal gains. What's disturbing is to have a doctor call the virus a hoax, which in fact he did in the beginning, which in fact he was also one that told people they don't need to wear a mask or not to wear a mask. Flat out told him not to wear a mask. Even Alex Michelson brought it up on the newscast, asking him and confronting him that he was one of those people that told people they didn't need to wear a mask. And he blew that off. I'll tell you some other things that's disturbing. This man, he says that the general public doesn't need to know about that. Well, why is he talking about CRP and cytokines on his short, brief session? Now, I know that the CRP is C-reactive protein, but the general public does not. The general public doesn't know about cytokines. This man has pushed depression and stress on everyone so much, trying to convince the world that stress and depression and mental health issues from the pandemic are more important than risking your life with a virus that the President of the United States, in fact, called a deadly virus and worse than the most strenuous flus. Now, there has been a study of 6,500 plus people that came out in the journal Science Advances, suggesting concerns about contracting the disease outweighed concerns about pandemic-related disruptions in daily life. Biggest risk for depression symptoms, Dr. Drew, was having had a mental health diagnosis before the pandemic. The other two major factors affecting mental health were employment and stress increased more from the misinformation by media on the pandemic-related disruptions in daily life. This study reported in the journal Science Advances. This man has even tried to tell people to open up the gyms and restaurants and let people eat inside due to the fires in California. So let's leave one high risk of the smoke and the dangerous quality of air outside to add on another high risk for your life by going in and eating around crowds in a restaurant. He has dismissed almost every study I've heard them bring on this station since June. All of a sudden he starts this riled up act like he's mad about everything. This is ridiculous to ridicule Governor Newsom, Mayor Garcetti, Dr. Barbara Ferrer, all the time when they are doing their job, following science, following logic to protect Los Angeles. Prevention, Dr. Drew, prevention is the key here. Everyone's not going to end up with a mental issue. Everyone's not going to end up depressed. But I tell you what, spreading some positivity, giving factual information, guiding people, telling them what they need to do to stay safe, and not giving them false information and acting like it's perfect for everyone to go out there. You're ridiculing this off of 3 days. We should have been able to judge Labor Day off of 3 days. Come on, we all know by now that it takes up to 2 weeks to even start showing symptoms. And then that day 8 through 11, once you've started showing symptoms, let's say after 2 weeks, is when people really start getting worse, if they are in fact going to be one of those unfortunate people that this is going to hit hard, possibly put them in the hospital, possibly on a ventilator, and unfortunately may even risk dying. This is so unfortunate, and you need to quit downplaying. We don't have that national contact tracing device in real time, which we need, which I put my heart, soul, money, filed for a patent pending large-scale contact tracing device on June 5th. After sending out the information to several doctors encouraging me to continue with this, I sent it out on April 28th. Now we're going into October, and we have you knocking everything down, knocking the scientists, knocking Fauci. You're not a scientist. These people that are in charge of Los Angeles, they are following the scientists. They are following the logic. And I've said since day one, unfortunately, this is survival of the fittest or the smartest or the luckiest. And I don't know about you, but we certainly don't want to gamble with our lives. Now, because you're a doctor, we know that you get the N95 mask. In fact, you said we shouldn't shame people on not wearing a mask. Really? Why not? You shamed your son on national television for wearing his N95 mask that Daddy, I'm sure, got him. But in fact, your son should wear that N95 mask. In fact, if you want to push opening up this economy so badly, so soon, which I get, we do need some of this economy open. People do need to be able to feed their families, but this country needs to pull it together and support people who can't afford that right now. The government needs to support the people that are losing money, that can't afford things because they can't open up their business. But unless this country can step up and do what is so obvious since day one and start getting N95 masks to everyone. Come on, people. It's logic, but it's also common sense, and it's science. Everyone needs an N95 mask. There needs to be mandated masks. There needs to be high enough consequences that people will put that mask on. And because you're still going to have people not put that mask on, we need a face shield also. Every single person, I don't care if you use the census or what. I get the frontline people, they need those masks. They need the N95. But have you ever thought about the fact that if we have an N95, like South Korea and China did, we're not going to have all these hospitalizations. We're not going to be putting the frontline people at risk. We're not going to overcrowd the hospitals. And yes, we have the flu season coming up. So what a perfect time. So instead of hoarding the N95s and stocking up for the fall, which they've been doing for quite some time, we could have been getting those out to all of the Americans to stop this, get it under control, having those businesses that must be open, and those frontline workers, including the grocery stores, the deliveries, the people that pick up our trash, the UPS, FedEx, Postal Service, everyone. These people need an N95 mask and face shield. Then next would be obviously the people that are sick, so they stop spreading it and stop spreading it in their household. That household needs N95 masks. People need to just briefly tell them how to keep it clean if they can only have one at first. You need to open it up on Amazon. Stop blocking the NEOSH FDA approved, the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, and the FDA approved masks that we need so that we have the fluid resistant mask. People need this. You want to open up the economy? It's like putting us out there in war. They called this the war against an invisible enemy. Okay, so you put Americans out there with no armor and you've taken away our weapons. Allow us to purchase the weapons, the armor, so we can fight this too, because if you fight it on both ends of the spectrum, guess what? We'll be able to open up this economy much sooner. And if you really want to do contact tracing We need large-scale contact tracing, and this country is not going to risk their privacy on cell phones. So if you only have 5% willing to do this from an app on their phone, you're only going to know if you've been exposed to 5% of the people, which is 5% of the people all over the place, or let's even say 5% in your state, my state, let's say California. So I'm going to get a false sense of security because maybe 5% are willing to do this and their phone has to stay on. Come on, we need contact tracing. One device that's visible for everyone to see using the same system, but each state can be responsible of their own. Track it in real time, and I have a contact tracing pandemic wristband device that can alert people if they have been exposed with a flashing light, so they know they get priority testing and they can use their ID number through the census, or an ID number from a hospital or a shelter or any designated places, so they go online with their ID number, not their name, so it can stay anonymous, only put in the pertinent information that they want to put in. If they test positive, no one will have to call everyone, and it takes a week and human hours. That by the time a week goes by, it's too late. They've already infected too many people. If they've been exposed, each state can be responsible of those exposed in that state, send out the signal, and that light is on red. Has anyone thought about a passport after all of this is done? After there's a vaccine, I shouldn't even say done, because once there is a vaccine, the studies are showing 60-some% are willing to get the vaccine. Well, there's going to be so much hate and crime and violence going on, because how are we going to know who should wear a mask and who shouldn't wear a mask? But you know what? If we had contact tracing right now where everybody had the same wristband that locks like a hospital band, and you know what? They can't go in a store if they don't have it on. They can't go here if they don't have it on. They can't. They're encouraged this way that they need to wear it. But if they get that vaccine, then their light is green. They have a passport. They can get in anywhere, no problems. Don't have to wear a mask. We need to start this now. We need to start prevention. We need to tell people how to stay safe. They're not going to panic if you give them the real information. But what's causing panic? I wouldn't even say panic. Only you, Dr. Drew, are calling it panic, which there's an obvious sign right there downplaying all of this for everyone on his political reasons and personal gains. But we need to inform people. We need to give them the proper gear or allow them to purchase the proper gear. You need to explain all the ways that this can be transmitted. We need contact tracing that does not discriminate, that does not risk privacy. And you know what? If we open up salons and everyone's got an N95 mask and it's mandatory, people can actually see that wristband. Is it flashing, meaning that they need to get in for priority testing? Is it red, which means they're supposed to be quarantining? It works both ways. All these studies on the masks are only testing for your mask protecting others. Let's start showing some studies on masks protecting us with the particles going into our masks. We need to start talking about this both ways in businesses. A person that's going in to get their hair done, they can see if the person working at the salon, if their lights are off, they can have some comfort. They still need to keep that mask on because maybe there are people traveling come into this country. I actually feel that this should be a global plan. Obviously, we wouldn't track people from other countries and vice versa, but we would still recognize that wristband to see if they are clear. And to be able to see if they are positive and should be quarantining. We need this comfort back and forth, both sides, not just one direction. We don't have the N95 mask and you're insisting that they should feel safe? Did you not see all the other news out there? Have you not heard what our president has said about this virus that is deadly? Come on. Now, parents, they actually have to worry that they might get sick and won't have anyone to take care of their kids. Or even worse, their kids won't have any parents. So it's not called panic when parents are trying to be smart, trying to be responsible, and you keep downplaying this and everybody giving all this mixed information. It's just got to stop. People can handle it, but not when you don't give them the right tools to protect themselves and keep their families safe. This country is so divided, and all we care about right now is the election. There are real scientists, real doctors out there trying to help people. Dr. Fauci is trying to help people. The CDC, Dr. Robert Redfield, all of these people are trying to help people. You need to stop getting in their way. Okay, America, I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please click like, share, and subscribe. And for more information, updates, and information on contact tracing, please visit my channel at Shari, S-H-A-R-I, Lane, L-A-Y-N-E, MS, Healthcare Prevention.